Play and thinking, wow, she is one heck of an amazing athlete, which certainly she is. But as I've learned more about Chamique and heard her talk multiple times now, you know, she's so much more than just an amazing athlete. She's an amazing woman who inspires so many people. She reaches out to her community. She helps young girls have self-esteem and recognize the importance of education. And now she is a major mental health advocate who is talking about her own struggles, to have the courage to share that story with you all so that you can learn. And I hope as you listen to her, you open your hearts and your minds and you take from her the importance of having strength and courage when you're at a place where you need help, or when you know somebody who you think is struggling, that you are able to reach out to them. One of the sayings, or one of the slogans, I guess, that we have here on campus is that vols help vols. And that's such a big part of who we are as volunteers, is that we reach out and we help each other. And so what a perfect embodiment of that message with Chamique in terms of a volunteer truly coming here to help other vols. I'm so glad to have her here. A couple of quick logistics pieces before.
It's definitely a delight to be back here in Knoxville amongst my family and my friends. I want to thank Coach Summit and the women's basketball team for coming out and supporting me. This is my second talk of the day. I had to meet with staff and the bigwigs earlier to kind of talk about ways that they can improve life for students here on campus who are struggling with different mental health issues. It was great, great turnout. They were able to, we were really able to just talk about some really important topics. Secondly, I just want to thank Rick Goldsmith, who is here shooting a documentary. It's funny how life happens. Rick is my longtime agent, Lon Babbies, who has also worked with Coach Summit agent, and that's his best friend. Rick came to me about this opportunity, wanting to support my mental health advocacy. He has family members that have really dealt with this and have had a hard time. And Rick said, listen, with documentaries, we don't pay people, but I'm sending you $100 to take your friend out to dinner, and that's our contract. And I said, okay, that's fine. And he saw this vision of what I was trying to do, maybe like maybe 6 months to a year ago. And it's funny because I got a call earlier last week from ESPN. They talked to me about doing my life story, my documentary. And I had to tell them, I'm sorry, if you want it, you gotta buy it from Rick. So that. But hey, the coaches are coming in. They want me to attend your university. You have legendary coach, Pat Summit. You had Gina Auriemma, UConn. You just have all these coaches, and now they want me. But amidst everything, I came to the University of Tennessee, and it was probably the best decision I made because of the support that I had here and the success. I mean, come on, 3 consecutive NCAA championships is like unreal. During a time where women's sports was really on the growth, to be in that forefront, to be traveling through airports and have people chasing you and your team down to get autographs, traveling on private planes, like that was the life. And I experienced it here at the University of Tennessee, and I left the University of Tennessee as a sports icon. I mean, we were shooting HBO documentaries. Coach Summit authored 2 books, Everywhere I went, I couldn't just walk around campus, everybody wanted a piece of me. And it was an unreal, it was an unreal situation. But one thing, when I was here, I realized, probably my sophomore year, and Coach Summit could probably recall this, I was having extreme highs and lows. And I didn't know what it was. It was just like something inside of me. But when you're under that type of pressure, I don't even say it's pressure, it's you set a standard. Every day, no matter what's going on in my life, I gotta go out there, I gotta get 20 or 10. I got 15, 20,000 people in the arena supporting my team. Wherever we go on the road, we're the draw. So you get used to like sweeping stuff under the rug. Like, you know what? Okay, sweep it right under the rug, I'm not feeling well, okay, I gotta deal with this, I gotta cope with this. Because there's something greater ahead. We got a big game. We're going to Connecticut, and it's sold out. And you have to find out what makes you happy. And I took that, and I said, you're right. Coach said, I'm going to hook you up with our team psychologist, and you can work with her. And I said, okay, you know what? I walked away, I felt good. I'm like, okay, even though I didn't tell her the situation head on, but I felt good that, this person is supporting me. And, this is what my grandmother was talking about when my decision to Tennessee was so well. But then I met with the team sports psychologist, and I was like, man, this lady's so monotone. like I'm sitting here telling her the things, going on in me, and it's just like, Chamique, you just gotta work through. And I said, I can't deal with this. Like, hey, I got a big game, I gotta get things together, and I swept it under the rug. Well, you know what? Life goes on, and I have to leave the University of Tennessee. So now I'm in my life as a professional athlete. I left the protective environment of Chamique Holdsclaw, my grandmother. I left the protective environment of Coach Pat Summitt. And here I am in Washington, D.C., 21 years old, billboards of me everywhere, commercials with, Michael Jordan. This is really helping take women's sports to another level. And it's like I'm living a double life. It's like I have two faces. I have my extreme highs when I'm shopping, I'm having fun with my friends, I'm the life of the party. But then I have my other side where I felt really isolated and I was really mean. I remember one of my teammates, Muriel Page, she was like, Nick, you're like civil, you got like all these different personalities. And I'm sitting in my locker, I'm like, man, I don't want to hear that mess, whatever. But she was right. It was like so many things going through my mind. I was so displaced. I felt like sitting right by Coach Summitt's husband. It's like everybody knew Chamique Holdsclaw. I'm like, Grandma, how'd you get? Well, the security guard took me down to by the bench. I'm like, oh my God, Grandma, you gotta go to will call. But I just remember that day I'm in practice in the DC area, and I get out of practice. We were like underground, and I get my cell phone, and I all these missed messages. So I finally called my aunt, and she's like, hey, listen, your grandmother's in the hospital, something happened. Come home, you need to come home immediately. And I'm like, okay, I'm on my way. I'm like, what's going on? Next message is my mother. Don't drive. See, DC and New York are probably like 4-hour drive, and I would just go home all the time, like just pop around, hop in the car. She's like, don't drive, fly. Then my grandfather calls me and was like, oh, this is really serious. And so I got all these different stories. And let me tell you, I called my agent, and I was like, telling the situation. So while I went home to grab a bag, while I was on my way home to grab a bag, I pulled over by one of my teammates' house, Tasha Mills, University of Alabama. And I said, Tasha, you know what? Something bad has happened. I said, my grandmother died. My grandma's died. Nobody wants me to know because they don't want me to react. Something's happened, and she prayed with me. I remember she sat there, she prayed with me. She's like, I'll drive you home. And I said, no. They told me not to drive. Well, I got to the airport. Normally the flight is 30 minutes. Guess what? I'm on a plane in a window seat, and all of a sudden I hear, this flight, there's some trouble with the plane. I'm delayed on a runway for like an hour. Can you imagine all the things going through my mind? All of a sudden, I'm just overcoming emotion. I start crying. And right there, I knew my grandmother was dead. I arrived in New York and walked in that apartment with all my relatives there. And my mother took me in a room and she told me, you know what? Your grandmother died in her sleep. She had a heart attack. And I remember crying, breaking down, but I had to put on a brave face. I sucked it up. A couple of days later, I buried my grandmother. And you know what? I got back to doing only what I knew how to do and to help me cope. Now, I'm at my grandmother's funeral, and one of my best friends, Rita Williams, she's actually a Connecticut player, she's there with me, and I'm like, Rita, call a team, because I'm meeting them at Phoenix. This is the next day. And they're like, she's like, man, like, no one wants to make me mad because I'm just over the top. And she's like, man, this is not a good idea. You need to just take a week off or whatever. And I said, no. I got to go back and play. I need to be with the team. And I just used, again, basketball helped me cope. I just threw myself into it. I had one of my best seasons of my career. Led the league in scoring and rebounding. Like every day, I had so much pain in my heart. But I didn't take time to grieve. I just broke it down, got back on the court, blocked out my feelings, focused on energy and basketball. Kind of play through. And I wrote down a couple of things that I really wanted to say to you all today. And especially for the students, it's for anyone. And here you go. A lot of pressure on you, pressure to succeed, pressure to conform to what other people want of you, not knowing what you want or who you are, because you're trying to figure it out. That's what young people do. But you need to know there are people around you who can help you through life. You need to know that sometimes life seems hopeless, but that is a temporary condition. And you got to tell yourself that just because you might feel blue or lost or alone, that you don't need to then feel ashamed on top of that, because then you won't get help. There is light after your darkest moment. I know. I'm standing here and telling you I know, because I've been there and back. And I also know that you have the ability to bounce back from whatever the worst life has to throw to you. So it's been my pleasure, and thank you all for coming today. Thank you, everyone.
Y'all get together. All right, let's turn it. Oh, y'all play first I have your stuff for you. I'll come up. Carla's there, right?
Yeah. No, she's on town. She'll be back.
Oh, okay. Tina's there?
Eric.
Going by yourself?
She's up there.
Oh, that's all.